updates the Hyperion line with the Hyperion C2, which offers signature paddles from top pickleball players Ben Johns and Simone Jardim. The paddle features the Aero curve shape and carbon friction surface of the original Hyperion, with the addition of the charged carbon surface technology and reactive polymer honeycomb core found in the Perseus, giving it the best of both worlds. With a weight of 7.8 and 8 ounces, the Hyperion C2 also comes in 2 paddle thicknesses, 14 millimeters for added power and 16 millimeters for more control. Now, I've play tested several Joola paddles. I started with that Hyperion a couple years ago that I really enjoyed, and then I also play tested the Perseus not too long ago, and I was really actually excited to see what Joola would come up with this Hyperion C2, knowing that it was kind of the best of everything. And the first thing I noticed when I got onto court is that I had a small adjustment period, not a bad thing, but it was more like it wasn't a love at first sight for me. But the longer I hit with this paddle, the more I liked it. And by the end of this play test, I was pretty much in love.
If I'm not mistaken, I recall your favorite Joola paddle as being the CAS 13.5. I know that was a little more weight-based power, and it was the same thing with the Hyperion. I really enjoyed the paddle. It did leave me a lot of room for modification because the low end of it was about 8.4 ounces, so it gave great stability, but being that it was a cold press paddle, it wasn't as durable as paddles, premium paddles should be. For me, this is the new favorite. Before it was the CGS Vision, that gave me a little chance to add weight to the paddle, and it played a lot like the Hyperion. But this one, far and away, I would agree, it takes the best traits from the Hyperion and the Perseus. I love the Aero tip. It kind of moves the sweet spot out a little bit longer, affording me a better sweet spot at the tip and a little more leverage with the elongated design. So these new C2 Hyperions are by far my favorite Joola paddles.
The one thing I wanted to mention is the 2 thicknesses, the 16 and 14. Now, I actually liked that 13.5, which probably is one of the thinner paddles I've actually really enjoyed. With the Perseus, I preferred the 16 millimeter. And with these 2, I was surprised. I was actually going back and forth between the 2 pretty seamlessly. Now, the 14 millimeter gave me a little bit more power. The 16 millimeter gave me a little bit more control. So really, when I was playing, if I needed one or the other, I would kind of just pick up one and use it. And I thought that I could kind of go pretty seamlessly interchangeable between the 2 of them. If I had to pick a favorite between the 2, I would lean towards the 16 millimeters just for that little bit more control. I got plenty of pop now on my game.
Well, I have to admit that when Britt changes paddles, I don't really notice a change or drop in performance, so I'm not noticing a difference in power off of her paddle, but I definitely like the 16 millimeter paddle a little bit more. Out of these 2 paddles, as much as I enjoyed both, the 14 millimeter was a little livelier. I appreciated the little more dwell time the ball was able to sit on the paddle of the 16 millimeter offering of this. I would also say that the CFS was very spin friendly, but the charged carbon surface kind of layered on top of that seemed to improve not only spin potential, but the longevity. We've been testing these paddles for a while, and I don't notice a diminishment in spin potential anywhere on the paddle face. I was really impressed in that way.
One of the first things I do when I look at a paddle is kind of see the construction and how it's built. And like previous Joola paddles, I've always been really impressed with just the construction of the paddle. It is a very solid paddle for me. From the grip, which I always look for in that grip, it's a really premium grip, and it's longer in length, so I have 2 hands on my backhand, both on the baseline and a lot of times up at net. So I was really able to get under the ball and do a lot of different spins, so A+ on the grip. We've been play testing this paddle for, gosh, several weeks now, and I'm seeing very little wear around the paddle itself. And then even the whole kind of unibody construction of it, it really feels solid and stable in my hands.
I agree. That segues me perfectly back to the weight of the original Hyperion. Was a sandwich paddle, is amazing. It is very noticeable for me, the increase in stability and predictability of this paddle, being that it's a unibody design. So before you were getting the stability out of the weight, this, I just noticed you get a premium feel out of the structural integrity of the paddle. Just really solid, almost no matter where I place it on the paddle face. There's definitely a sweet spot out towards the tip, but it's very friendly outside of it.
Now, if I had to pick a favorite shot, I think this is going to surprise you, but I thought my serve actually was really elevated with this paddle. A lot of times, you know, the serve, you're just trying to get the serve in, not really thinking much about it. But with this paddle, I was actually putting a lot of effort into where I was hitting it, the depth. The control was there that I could kind of go for the lines more, even maybe take a little bit off, drop it a little short, or even angle. And I was really mixing it up, and I was finding myself getting a couple more free points that are always well appreciated.
Finally, she's being modest. Yeah, there was a higher percentage of cheap serves definitely off of these paddles. I'm not gonna argue with it, her serve was pretty much nails. My favorite shot would probably be the backhand rolling volley. I really enjoyed it. The thinner span across 3 and 9 and the elongated kind of design makes it maybe a little more of a challenge to swing this way, but definitely a little easier to roll at the net. So yeah, just top-notch premium paddles for sure.
If I had to sum this up, I'd say these paddles are all around great playing. I really had no negatives. I can't even think of one. I liked the spin potential. I thought there was controllable power. I also thought that they were maneuverable and solid all at once. So really no negatives for me.
They checked most all of the boxes for quality and performance in my book as well. If I was gonna switch to a Joola paddle, it would definitely be one of these of the 16mm variety.
Well, I think that wraps up this playtest. For more information on Joola paddles or anything else pickleball related, head to totalpickleball.com.